Crazy Penguin teaches you Linux. NickSnoob.com.
Welcome to NickSnoob. This video is a review of the FlashForge AD5M Pro 3D printer. This is going to be a brief overview because I know very little about 3D printing. I bought this printer for one specific purpose, and that was to print out and prototype a 3D bracket for a solar panel that I was building. And for that, it's worked out really great. Went through like 10 prototypes until I got the bracket design the way I wanted it. Here's the piece of the pipe that snaps in. Very satisfying click. Designing that and working, having it work out and building the panels has been a lot of fun. And having a 3D printer where you can print out a bunch of parts and just basically have a factory in your garage or in your room is still amazing to me. Right now I'm printing these out. The design I have has 12 of them, which is the number that you need to build a solar panel on one build plate, and so it prints 12 of them at a time. It takes it about 2 hours and 30 minutes to print 12 brackets. I also, after buying the printer, had a leak under my front porch, which is brick, and they had to jackhammer up all the brick, and so I was able to build or model, after not being able to find the right size brick, model basically a brick mold. And this is interesting because this is a single layer, and it is watertight, and I was able to pour a bunch of bricks and fix my front porch. Anyway, once you have a 3D printer, you'll find all kinds of fun uses for it. Let me pull up the website. This is the printer that I got. If you go to FlashForge.com, the 5M Pro, which is over here on the right, and currently it's $150 off. So you can get this printer for $449, which is amazing. If you don't need, so I needed this one because I'm printing in ASA. ASA is harder to print with filament. It requires an enclosure and a heated bed. And the advantages to ASA is that it's stronger and UV resistant. So if you're going to be printing outdoor parts, ASA is a good option. So that's what I needed for my 3D for my solar heater brackets. But if you don't need an enclosure, they also have this one that's also off right now. It's $289, and it's basically the same printer without the enclosure. And then they have a new version that does multicolor prints, which is pretty cool. Some of the advantages to this printer, it's very fast. You can use Orca Slicer, or they also have a flash print slicer that comes with it. Comes with a little USB drive that has the software on it. It's fully enclosed. It's got a heated bed. It's got a camera. It's got a textured build plate, which is really nice. ASA is hard to print also because it's hard to stick to the build plate. If the build plate cools off at all, then ASA will release from the build plate. The build plate that comes with the Adventure 5M Pro is textured, and it heats up hot enough so that the ASA sticks to it. And you can control the temperature of your build plate, the temperature of your nozzle for your different type of filaments. 3D printing is very complicated. I'm not going to go into all the different types of infill and layer heights and wall thickness and all that. There's so many options in 3D printing once you get into it, because you can just change every little nuance about how fast it prints the outlines, if it's skipping over places which can cause stringification. Like it's It's something that once you get into, you'll kind of dive into it, and it's a lot of fun. But so many options. This printer has a replaceable nozzle, and you literally just pull two little things on the side. You have to clip like your filament will be coming up here from the top, and you just clip your filament, and then pull these two little things on each side, and the print head comes right out. The printer comes with, I believe it's a 0.4 millimeter and a 0.6 millimeter print head. The print I just showed you a minute ago, both of those were printed using the 6 millimeter or the 0.6 millimeter print head. But it's a pretty fast printer. I've been super happy with it. The consistency, once you get a print to print the way you want it, you can literally just walk up to the printer, turn it on. It remembers what you've printed. You can select that part and say go and come back, and there's another one. So being able to just manufacture things is is really cool and fun. Um, so I'm gonna show you some other video I made of it working. Um, I was able to get before I purchased the printer. I made sure that the slicer that they sent, with the printer, you can download their software from the website. Um, and so I download. They have an Orca slicer or a version of Orca slicer that's got the profiles for the Adventure 5M Pro printer built in. So I installed that on Linux, made sure that that worked before I bought the printer. The printer's got a USB thumb drive on the front, and I assumed with Linux that I would just be saving my, STL files to the thumb drive and taking it to the printer and loading it that way. And that's what I did at first. Um, but the Flash print software wouldn't work directly under Linux, but it works fine under Wine. So installing that under Wine allows me to send a job directly to the printer or connect to the printer and pick a job that's already, been printed. So I can go through the previous jobs on the printer and print one remotely. And then it also allows me to view the camera in the printer to see where the print is or if it's stuck or having any issues. And I've been super lucky so far. I've printed right now in my garage, I think I have like 20 sets of brackets printed out. And the only time I've ever had any issues was when I was first printing with ASA. I was not setting the build plate hot enough, and I was having pieces come off the build plate while I was printing. As soon as I figured out that I just needed to heat the bed up hotter, I haven't had any problems other than when it runs out of filament. And when it runs out of filament, if you know it's about to be out of filament, then you can open up a new spool and kind of thread it in behind, the one so that it doesn't stop printing. Um, I found out that uh, when the printer runs out of filament, it'll stop and pause the print, and you can go load new filament and continue. But I've had issues where sometimes that worked and sometimes it didn't. I think it's just with the ASA, just like layer adhesion. When it's stopped for us for a minute, then sometimes it doesn't stick to the next layer very well. So you kind of have a seam where you had it wait. But if you can just, you know, if you know that you're about to run out of filament and just thread the filament in behind, it'll just keep going without any issues. So that's the only issue I've run into at all, and I've printed a ton of parts. Okay, so this just finished. Printing completed, 2 hours and 38 minutes. So I'm just going to hit OK. And then I am going to take this off the build plate. And the build plate is cooled down, so these parts will just pop right off. This is ASA, and the ASA has to have a very hot build plate to stick. And as soon as the build plate cools down, it just comes right off. So I'm going to take this out. I'm just going to dump these on top here. You can see what I mean. They just pretty much come right off. Then I need to remove these little edges here. And these are just where it's pre-extruding. So pull those off and then put the build plate back in. This just slides in really easy. It's got little tabs in the back, so you can just push it all the way in, and then it snaps down. And then we'll start another print. We just hit this button here, select our model, and say go. Super easy. Trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, in my very limited experience, I highly recommend this printer. It's been absolutely fantastic and has done everything that I've asked of it so far. So I showed you the brick mold, and again, here's the brick mold, which is a single layer, and get the light in there so you can see. I mean, so it can print a single layer just perfectly flat. It's amazing that it's laying that down, just little lines of plastic, and that it's waterproof enough to make pour bricks out of. When I first got the printer, the first thing I printed was this little cube. This comes on the, it comes as like kind of the first demo file. I'm trying to get this where this can get the light. This was printed with the 4mm nozzle, and I can't get the light. You can barely see the layer lines on this, and man, I just can't get it to reflect the light. There we go. Can we get the layer lines? There are very tiny layer lines. This camera's not going to focus if I get too close. But anyway, so very nice little cube. That was the first thing I printed, and this is a kind of a glittery filament that came with the printer. I'm trying to get that to reflect in the light again. And then the second thing I printed was just the oh, why did I forget the name just now of the little test boat? This has a name, and I just forgot it. Benchy, yeah. So this is a Benchy, which is meant to basically benchmark. It's kind of a stress test. It's got like originally designed to have a bunch of features that make it hard to print. So I'm just trying to get this close enough where you can really see it, and you can see it has some issues in some places, but for the most part, this is a really nice Benchy, printed out great. So that's basically my review. Sorry, it's kind of all over the place. If you're in the market for a 3D printer, I've been super happy with the FlashForge AD5M Pro and recommend it. If you want to see videos on like how to design and model 3D parts in FreeCAD, let me know. I'd be happy to make some videos on that. If you'd like to see more videos of using the printer or printing specific things on the printer, let me know. I haven't tried like the only filaments I've printed with so far have been PLA and the ASA, and haven't had any problems. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.